AI makes like I come up with stuff in my head, like not related to what they're saying, but that's if I'm watching stand up on TV, it's so weird, like things just come to me. And so a lot of my writing is honestly, I sit in the back of the room at an open mic and I just sit there and then I'm like, oh wait, I got, even though it's nothing related to what they're saying, it's just weird. And also I find chatting with other comics, like I text with a lot of other like people, funny people. I get material there because I'm telling them stories. And they're like, oh, dude, that should be a joke. I'm like, you're right. You know what I mean? That story could be a good joke. And that's what helps me more. But just sitting here watching boring Netflix and going to work every day, I feel like I have nothing, Kristen. I'm just.
Yeah. I mean, I think
creatively, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I feel like I just like, for me, it makes sense because you're around creative energy and then that gets.
Yeah, and I feel right.
I try to pay attention like now when just knowing like when an idea zooms into your brain and just like I keep I'll forget to write something down. I'm like, like I think for me that was my trick was like remembering to stop in whatever I was doing and write it down. I still struggle with it.
Isn't it? Right? I mean, at my age too, girl, I forget everything. I don't write that down in that minute. That shit's gone forever. So it's in my phone. I have notes and notes and notes just to give me like even like a couple words to just remember that thought. Because these young comics, man, their brains are like whippersnappers. I'm like, and I'm a horrible writer and a horrible reader.
Are you?
Yes, I have. I'm dyslexic and have severe ADHD. Do you see?
So do you do voice recording? Do you do voice?
Yeah, I used to do all voice, and then I started just like quickly. I speak into my notes, and then But I'm telling you, I haven't even made a note in 3 months. I am on a complete shit ass.
I really think that's okay. I really think that people have to just like be nice to them. Like the world is fucked.
Yeah.
Like it has just been like stress on top of stress on top of stress on top of stress. And like, if it is a resource for you and it helps you to like do stuff, then like do it. And if it does not, then fucking don't. And like,
right.
I really think we underestimate how much we were bombarded like for 6 years, because the election cycle started before, the 2016 election. And it continued for after the 2020 election. And so like, we've just been like manhandled by advertisement and politics and pandemics and, fucking fear. And like, I don't know. I think if you're alive and you're not terrified of every day, then you're doing fine. Like I really like, I feel like people have to be as nice as they can to each other, because in the grand scheme of things, Americans live a long time. A little bit shorter now than we used to, but we live a long time, and like a year or two is not the fucking end of the world. It just isn't. Like it. We've been a country for a really long time, and it makes sense that like we're due for some fucked up shit, and if we don't get our act together, probably some more fucked up shit. And either some of us will go to another place and some of us will decide to stay. And like, I mean, you ever think about like when you look at Europe and you're like, oh, right, there's a reason why there's a gazillion different countries. They tried this. It didn't fucking work unless you were a dictator like China. You know what I mean? Like we're Americans, we're like, we're going to do it better. And like Europe's just like, okay, we're just like this like drunk, dumb, young cousin.
The drunk uncle.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, no, we're the dumb young cousin. We're the youngest. We're young. Maybe we're Canada's drunk uncle, but we're not England. We're England's embarrassing fucking nephew. Do you know what I mean? Like we're just drinking and fighting and fucking. That's all Americans care about, right? It's just like, so, I don't know. I feel like we have a lot of good things going here. And if we can just like chill out and like figure out how to get through this transitional phase to whatever the fuck is next,
right,
that makes sense, then we'll be all right. If everybody wants to fucking go to war and shoot each other, I'm going to be in the woods somewhere where you can't fucking find me while this shit blows over. Or like, I'm going to be on a beach in the Dominican Republic or some shit. Right. Like,
for me though, too, I'm like, all right, people are like, oh, you've had a lot of time to sit around. You better be coming out the gate with a lot of strong writing. And I'm like, I'm coming out the gate with shit when this is over.
Yeah. They're not fucking writers.
And then I get to myself and I think to myself, you know what? Just like you said, I need to be around creative energy in order for me to become creative again. So I'm like, once open mics start back up and I can get out of the house and just sit back and watch everybody else. And I think I have a lot that was just going to come pouring out. But now,
and also you can,
know,
I mean, your podcast is good, right? Talk Comics, but then also like, I had a Zoom. I'm working with this like Zoom sketch group where we're just like writing sketches and doing.
That's perfect because
you should like get a couple comics together and just plan a Zoom thing and just like shoot ideas off each other. Smoke a big fatty and like.
Completely
I don't know.
agree.
If it's something you want to try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did a couple Zoom shows. A friend of mine is in California, and she does this women's power hour, and she's always like, come on, do the show. And I'm like, all right, it's LA time, which sucks, but it's like after 10 o'clock at night. And Kristen, I'm annihilated. I was like slurring my words last week. I was so embarrassed. I messaged her and I'm like, I'm sorry. When it gets late, I'm really wasted by that point. And she's like, you were hysterical. I'm like, all right. But it helped me, even though it was weird, but it did help being around other creative people again. You know what I mean? Listening.
Yeah. For sure.
Definitely helped me a lot. So, but yeah, I'm excited just to go watch some comedy. Not even about doing it. I'm just excited to see a headliner at the Carlson or a headliner,
right?
Just to be around that energy again. You know,
the rooms are the best.
And Buffalo is fucking awesome. There's such a huge difference between Buffalo audience and Rochester's.
Really?
I noticed that a big difference. Like I did the Buffalo at the Helium. I did the funny contest there.
Right.
Buffalo's funniest.
The funniest person. Yeah.
And I was like, all right, we'll see what happens. But I was like, oh my God, Buffalo was really like, my material did pretty good there. And I was nervous, but it did way better because.
Nice.
Yeah. And I ended up going to the semifinals too. So that was fun.
Congrats.
But I only perform well in a contest. Let me tell you, I won Rochester's, but I only perform good in a contest. I think that's the only time I can bring it, but I really had a great time. And I don't know, something about Buffalo crowd, man, they just love more edgy comedy, I think.
But that makes me like that. I would hope that, because that's just kind of how I've always felt about comedy in Buffalo. Like I just, we called it, when we first started buffalocomedy.com, we called it like Jokes on Us. And then we did like, like doing time. Like it was always just like, yeah, in due time, right? Like Buffalo is just this like rugged, like
it is
like just place that you had to the struggle was real and you had to like figure your shit out. And it was cold and you were lacking vitamin D but
Rochester,
that's where you get good jokes out of that. Buffalo has always put out what I thought were really strong comics.
I'll tell you that they definitely like more of the edgy comedy, I think, in my opinion. I don't know. And I had a couple people say to me, you're going to notice a difference with like some of your jokes. You know what I mean? That you will see that it's the edgier stuff. I'm not as nervous. But
right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just who knows what's going to happen.
The more rooms you do, the more you get out of, the more you do other areas and hit other rooms and get on the road and like just try. The more that starts to fade away, and you just keep doing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it does, because you get, if you do the same. I know this was a thing when we first really kind of started Nietzsche's in Buffalo. It was kind of the only room. So like people were comfortable in that room, but then where else did you go? Right. And like, that's not a representation of comedy. Comedy is traveling all the fuck everywhere and doing jokes in every fucking kind of room you could possibly fucking imagine.
And it's totally different though.
I'm allowed to swear, right? Sorry. I'm just motherfucking over here.
Yeah, no, but it's so different. It is so different going. I did stand up in Florida. Because I go there in the winter sometimes. Not this year, but the other, I go for a couple months, and I hooked up with a bunch of comics there, and I did a couple open mics, and oh my God, they were so nice, and they got me some college gigs. And this right after my open mic, like they were all like, "Give me your number, and put you on a show," whatever. And it was And let me tell you, they like edgy stuff in Florida. But
Where in Florida were you?
South, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Nice.
Yeah. Very, but it's Florida. You're in Trump land, anything fucking goes with that.
Yeah, but you got to remember that I grew up in Louisiana. So like that's like I can get I'm looking at my hat. I'm wearing a camouflage hat for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Like I can vibe with country and I get that too. That I'm cool.
Yeah, no, and that's totally cool. You know what I mean? Because I
just need them to wear masks.
Yeah, you just here's mine. Mine's tied on. I try to wear different ones because I have to wear them all day long. Yeah, I mean, it's the comedy down there was different from here, from New York, from Rochester. It was just, it's so weird to go all, see all these different comics in these different states. And that's what's been really cool though about doing Zoom comedy.
What?
I really enjoyed listening to all the other comics and their different styles from state to state, because it's a little different. And I, really enjoyed seeing a different variety.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's so different from state to state. It's so bizarre. I just think that, I don't know. Let's talk about your non-for-profit, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Summer of totally, because I love that. Summer of Sass.
Yes. SOS, which makes me happy on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's real simple. Our tagline is what better looks like, because, you tell kids it gets better, but how do you know what better looks like if you grow up in a town that you can't really perceive? And so, P-Town, where I live, Provincetown, Massachusetts, the very tip of Cape Cod. It's a gay place. And it's got a big summer tourist season. So we always need summer workers. So I was on tour in the South. I was in Shreveport, where I went to high school. And there was an article in the paper about this kid who was graduating high school early because he was being bullied so much. And this was like 20 years after I had graduated high school. And so it just stuck with me. Like, how is this kid's story the same 20 years later? Like, the kid can't just fucking go to high school. Like, stop. Like, what is happening? Especially when it does seem like in other areas of the country that high schools are more progressive and people, kids these days do get it way more. And so I just started subsidizing bringing them up here. Right. So we help kids get up here. We rent out. So it's a very expensive place, P-Town. And if you want to get a summer rental, you have to put up thousands of dollars at the beginning, right? Like 15, 18, it can cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you're a young kid, you can't, it's never going to be feasible for you to have the experience that the previous generation of queers had, where they could come to this place, they could work for summer, they could live in a cottage, whatever. And so we're just we do that. We subsidize it. Once they get here, they start working, they pay back rent, not back rent, but they pay rent a little bit, right? Like we make it affordable for them.
Yeah.
And we mentor them, they call me Beach Dad. That was, but they're between the ages of 18 and 20. So they're not old enough to drink legally. They can't go to the bars. They cannot get caught by me. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're not doing stuff. I'm not a dummy, but you've got to at least have enough respect to hide it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's really fantastic. And, it really made me just giving them the space to be themselves. They do all the work. I just have to be a little bit of support, and I got to, shake some money out of people and use it and make sure that, I'm around to help them if they need something. But, after the first couple of weeks, they've been here for a little bit, they make friends at work and they go live their lives. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build independent, happy, healthy humans, and a pod of them, 1, 2, 3 of them. And then a friend that they met here all just moved to New Orleans together. They lived in P-Town for a couple of years, and then they all just moved to New Orleans as this group of like badass young queers. And so, yeah, it's something that like, I love. 18 to 20. I don't know. I mean, all right. So growing up in a rural place or being gay way back when, where could you be gay? At the bar. That was
Yep.
it. That was the only place that you were allowed to show up